All right, good morning. And how are you today? It's another Monday, the 28th day in the month of February 2022. It happens to be the last day. Congratulations to every one of us, including me and myself. Yes, my weekend was splendid. I don't know about yours. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
That's the voice of Simidili Olabisi Oke Omoajayi. And I have Jennifer Jubril, aka Jennifer Jubril. Good morning.
This name is beginning to stick. Good morning, Shabi Olegbe Taiwo Shab.
That's not how you call it.
But that's how I've decided to call it.
Shabiligbi, what did you call it?
Taiwo Shab.
All right, it's another edition of the newspaper review here on our station. And don't forget, before then, like and follow us on all our social media platforms. On Facebook is at Lagoon Radio Nigeria. On Instagram and Twitter is at Lagoonradio.Ng. You can also listen via our website on www.lagoonradio.ng. My name is Taiwo Adiola Shabiulibi. And in no particular order, we have the Nigerian Pilot, the Authority Business AM, Nigerian News Direct, Daily Trust, Leadership Newspaper, National Economy, People's Daily, This Nigeria, Al Jazeera, Blueprint, Nigerian Tribune, This Day Newspaper, New Telegraph. And we try as much as possible to touch all these papers this morning. Well, I'll be starting with the Nigerian Pilot. Nouns begin nationwide action against incessant ASU strike. You can get that on page 5. And also on page 5, you'll see federal government meets ASU tomorrow as NAAT, SSANU, and NASU threaten strike. And moving down to page 8, bloody weekend. Bandits on rampage, kill 45 persons in 48 hours and injure many. 17 in Niger, 10 in Benue, 10 in Kaduna, 8 in Borno communities, and abducted over 50. As cultists invade Anambra burial, kill 20 mourners and injure many others. 5 killed in NDLEA raid in Lagos as drug barons is arrested. All of this you can read on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot newspaper. Malawi polio outbreak. Federal government to safeguard Nigeria against virus importation. That's on page 6. And going back to page, also on page 6, you can see Abuja natives applaud NAS for mayoral status ministerial recommendation. And I'll take us back to page 5 where we see 2023. Don't trust article with presidential ticket. Afegboa tells the PDP. And if you go down to page 7, you see ex-jam boss Jeremy, they allegedly diverted 341.9 million naira for printing press school. This you can read on page 7. And going on to page 9, Electoral Act, politicians can't rig election again, says Abaribi. All of these you can read on page 9. And at the very bottom of the paper, we see 2.55 billion naira on remitted pensions recovered in 2022, says Pencom. This you can read on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot. And that'll be all on the front page.
All right, I'll be taking the authority papers, and right at the top we have some headlines. Ukraine crisis, Nigeria secures visa-free agreement with Hungary, Romania. Can get that on page 2 of the authority papers. And on to page 4, this is on 2023 primaries. Don't take PDP delegates for granted. Wike tells Atiku. You can get that on page 4 of the authority papers. And on page 8, ADF to Igbo leaders synergize with IPOB to tackle unknown gunmen. And to page 14, this is on insecurity as gunmen attack Niger communities, kills scores. And as boldly written at the front page of the authority papers, APC convention, governors move against Adamu Abdullahi, and the writers to that take protest to Buhari Tuesday. Minister behind consensus candidate kite. You can get that on page 2 of the authority papers, and this is ahead of the proposed March 26th National Convention of the ruling All Progressive Party, as governors elected on the platform of the party are reportedly angry with the former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, for claiming that he was adopted as a consensus candidate for the position of APC national chair. Okay, you can continue reading on page 2 of the authority papers. And back to page 4, this is to Jonathan. Jonathan, don't fall into APC cabal trap. It says Sage says to Jonathan, don't fall into APC cabal trap. And this is NDLA intercept 649,300 tramadol capsules, 809,850 euros consignment in a Lagos airport. You can continue reading on page 9 of the authority papers, and on to page 12. NCC CSERT discovers banking app targeting malware. That's on page 12. And lastly, on the authority papers, on page 14, 2023 political parties, aspirants risk INEC sanction over early campaigns. That'll be all on the authority papers.
I want to count money. I want to talk about money. It's Monday, so let me start speaking money.
Paper money.
Leave me alone. No. Okay, with me is Business AM. CBN to pay exporter 65 naira for every $1 they repatriate. 65 naira for every $1 they repatriate. You can read that on page 2. And we have dirty petrol, artificial scarcity to test subsidy removal. And the writers to that says Nigerians pay extra naira to buy fuel caused by dirty fuel importation. Nigerians pay extra naira to buy fuel caused by dirty fuel importation. 387.6 million liters from NNPC, not enough. Marketers, attendants rip off Nigerians to make up for economic hardship. And you can read all of that also on page 2. And we have on page 3, 5GW solar for energy transition. We also have on page 11, Nigeria exchange least volatile. That's on finance and investment. And we have LSM has made impact in 40 years. You can read that on page 22. And for energy, power and renewable, Shell Nigeria performance good. That's on page 27. Company and business, trade depot wants a bite of Ghana. That's on page 26. And under transport business, dealers stock up new Benz S-Class. Why do I like this one? I love cars. Who's going to buy me one?
Wait, too.
Who's gonna buy me one? Shall busy you.
Amen.
For my birthday, my birthday is coming. I want a Benz S-Class.
Holy Spirit will help you.
Holy Spirit, activate.
Yeah,
Activate.
amen. Nigeria frontier markets, global oil in Imo youthful trouble. That's on page 28. And we have commodities and agriculture. Ginger beckons for export again. Ginger, I want to be exporting ginger. There is not enough for us. That's on page 24. And we have at the bottom of Business AM, tapping global healthcare's greatest resource. That's an article on page 14. We have executive knowledge series, Forgotten Heroes of Innovation. And that's on page 15. That's all we have on the front page of Business AM.
All right, moving on to the Nigerian News Direct. At the very top of the paper, we'll see IGP Elders probe of missing 91,985 AK-47 rifles and others. That's quite a lot.
Quite a number.
Yeah. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct. NCC CSIR discovers banking app targeting malware. That's on page 29. And then on page 3 as well, I'll be taking us back. NLC mobilizes workers for local government autonomy, says WABA. And at the very front page of the paper, the major story there says fuel scarcity Price hike worsens transport fare. Are you affected? I doubt if you're affected.
No, you don't want to know my experience from Saturday.
But wait, except Saturdays.
No,
what other days?
not except Saturday. I mean, apart from because I have to come here, I have to work here, and I stay pretty close. I'm grateful for that. But man, some other days,
I guess that was why I said you're not.
yeah,
really
thinking about it that way. But some other days where I have to go far.
Except for those few times, but likes of Sim, she had to fill her car, and she's not really bothered anyway, because once she fill her car today, she might end up filling it probably
Next week.
I lie.
At least the fuel in my car, it hasn't got into half
it's been there since last
Because I remember she was saying it 2 weeks ago.
upper week Friday.
Yeah. I just filled my tank.
That's the advantage of having a really good car.
Yes.
With amazing engine.
You use Honda,
See,
right?
see how smiley.
I want to be
I'm
like
smiling because
I want to be like you when
don't
I
know
grow
what
up.
it takes to maintain a car and to make it feel good. Like, oh my God.
I would know after my birthday, because I might get a Benz S class.
Wait.
You're not even starting small. I like your faith. I like your faith.
Announcement, everybody. Studio for sale. You can buy and use it to buy
S class for Jennifer. I'm worth it. I mean,
Pay directly to me.
Not this studio.
Right? Maybe.
All right,
not.
the writers to that story says attendants seek legal charges from customers. Nigerians lament Lagos, Abuja, Benin, Oshogbo, and Abeokuta and others worse it. The regulation panicky for scarcity, sharp practices in petroleum industry, says former MOMAN chairman. All of this you can read on page 29 of the Nigerian News Direct. Still on the paper, NCDMB commencing store of facilities with stakeholders in Niger Delta. It's quite tiny. I think that's page 2. 2.55 billion naira on remitted pensions recovered in 2021. Let's spend come. I think this year has been good news all the way. Recovering money here and there.
Recovering money, drugs being seized and all that.
Money part, the money aspect
money
is very
aspect.
important.
Yeah.
I just hope we get to know where it's it's gonna land. All right, still on page 2. Buhari El Rufai KDCCIM extol Dangote at trade fair. And lastly, on page 3, why Ogun, Oyo, Oshun, and others will experience prolonged power outrage, says IBEDC. And that'll be all on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct newspaper.
All right, this is going on Daily Trust papers. Anxiety as Atiku, Tinubu, other aspirants know their fate in June 3. As APC, PDP, others says will comply with timetable. Wow. And initiative laudable, but what says dons and early start will help the processes. The CDD as NAS Buhari's delays cause of frenzy, NNPP scribe says. Can get all of that on page 5 of the Daily Trust papers. Nigerians to pay more for bread as Russia-Ukraine war rages.
Bread.
Did I hear you right?
Like bread.
I think I'll just advise, let everyone just go green. Go green.
Bread.
That's
Go
not good.
green.
That's
You
not
don't
gonna
need-
work for me.
You don't need much calories.
Wait, bread.
Yeah.
See, if my brother hears this one, you just be looking at them like
If you know how much I love bread,
Bread.
oh god, I
Bread.
don't know.
Say I shouting bread.
bread.
Okay.
Bread is life.
Can
Life
get
is
that. Can get that on the inside of the Daily Trust papers, and this is a report from Borno. 25 killed as ISWAP attacks 4 villages in Borno. That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust papers, and on page 24, our new bill plans radical changes for power sector. And still on the Daily Trust papers, treat Nigerians, other Africans with dignity. Federal government tells Ukraine, Poland. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust papers. And still on Daily Trust papers, Kano Katsina emirs meet over resignation of Waziri Katsina. And 2023, the clogs in the wheel of Tambuwal's presidential bid. can get that on the inside of the Daily Trust papers. And lastly, on the Daily Trust papers, 2 wedding guests killed in Abuja suburb. That's actually like a very bad news, really.
Okay.
So that's all for the Daily Trust papers.
With me is leadership. Court asked to other probe of security vote spending. That's on page 8. PMB's position on electoral acts reflects relationship with NAS presidency. That's on page 6. We have on page 7, CBN warns as hard times trigger influx of fintech banks. That's on page 7. Ohaneze, ACF Ohaneze set justice, equity as criteria for 2023 presidency. That's also on page 7. And the major headline, Russia-Ukraine war, anxiety over Nigerian students still trapped at Polish borders. The writer stood out says, FG asks stranded citizens to move to Romanian, Hungarian borders. Russian military puts nuclear weapons on high alert. Kiev to hold talks with Moscow. And that's all on page 4. We have maritime workers to shut down Lagos on air ports over local content bridge. That's on page 25. Adamawa community protests land encroachment by Cameroon. That's on page 9. And lastly, on leadership, 8 villagers, 8 terrorists killed in Niger. And that's on page 6.
Thank you very much. I'll just jump over to People's Daily. FCTA uncovers 6,000 uncompleted abandoned structures. That's on page 2 of the paper. Sokoto to generate 300 billion naira annually for export of onions, says Tambuwal. Jennifer, you keep shaking your head at everything I read. I'm not seeing you. I just could see you shaking your head.
First, they talked about fuel in association with Russia and Ukraine war. And next thing, I heard our precious bread.
Of course not.
And now and then I read ginger. And now onions.
It's just
wow.
It's just funny, and I wouldn't say it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Onions.
We're gonna survive this.
People that used to use like 12 balls of onions to cook 1 pack of Indomie.
Not them. If it because of me buy onion in the house, don't worry.
Right.
You're very, very lucky.
Practically, I can boil water for tea.
You can boil water, we put onions.
You should be sweating onions then.
No. Onion is not
No,
like garlic. Onion is not like garlic.
Even too much of it, I heard.
No, actually, yeah. If you take onions,
too much of everything
there was a period I used to take onion water. And I noticed that as time went on, I took it consecutively, like over and over again. And I noticed
sweating.
My sweat started smelling.
See,
onions.
you're going to tell me all the things you've taken in this life. Onion water.
No, it's research. It's actually very good, but I think it shouldn't be too much.
And for people like you don't.
Even if you're going to do it at all,
I'll use it to glow.
Even if you're going to do it at all, I'm going to give you tips on that on my health talk.
Yes, we're gonna talk about it.
Thank you.
All right, so that story is on page 5. You might want to take a look at it on People's Daily. And the major story there says Ganduje to herdsmen engage in cattle rustling, banditry, and face death sentence. That's on page 5. MTN Mafa pay $547.2 million for 5G spectrum license, says NCC. That's on page 19. And moving on, taking you back to page 3, you see UK to assist Nigeria in fight against terrorism. Amen. No. What part of Nigeria? Nigeria is very. Lagos is a part on its own. Yes, Lagos is another country on its own. That's on page 3. And on page 8, Kaigama Onoiye Kon. Onoiye Kon.
Onoiye Kon.
Onoiye Kon.
I'm
sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. Pardon me. Sue for peace task Christians on fervent prayers. Is it now a crime? I don't know. Well, that's on page 8. And moving on to page 9, please rescue 7 kidnapped victims in Zamfara. And on page 22, Ukraine invasion. Putin puts nuclear forces on high alert. That's on page 22. And on the front page, we can see the picture of Governor Abdullah Omar Ganduje formally launching massa cattle and small ruminant vaccination 2022. He's supported by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Nasiru Yusuf Gawuna, and Abdullah Mahmoud Gaya, member representing Gaya Ajingi Federal Constituency in Kano yesterday. And that'll be all on the People's Daily newspaper.
All right, as a good, beautiful, great Nigerian, I'll be taking this Nigeria, and on page 4, that's making the headline of the this Nigerian papers. 2023 presidential race. Like, I think I've been reading about 2023 presidential race, and it's doing me as if it's just doing me as if, why not go for a particular position? Why not go for and let Jennifer be your campaign manager? Anyway, I'll think about it. Maybe after I finish selling sharp. All right. Odds favor South to fly APC PDP tickets as Yaya Bello article other Northerners plot strategies. Weak outcome of PDP primaries will shock many. Yes, some Wike says that. And yeah, that's on page 4 of this Nigerian papers. And still on page 4, Sano says why we are shutting down vast cities. And I think I have some other shutdowns on this Nigerian papers, and I feel like I'm like, if everyone shuts down,
you're shutting the whole of Nigeria.
God. This is unconstitutional amendment. NLC storm NAS over autonomy for local government judiciary. That's on page 5 of this Nigeria papers. And on to page 11. Over $2 billion Nigeria. Russia valued trade at risk. And on page 23, federal government South Africa lament unfair treatment of Nigerians, Africans at Ukraine-Poland border. It's on page 23 of this Nigerian papers. And lastly, on this Nigeria paper, fuel scarcity, NSCDC to close outlets over Ordin. You can continue reading on page 23 of this Nigeria papers. That'll be all on this Nigeria papers.
Okay, quickly, I'll take Al Jazeera Nigeria. The major headline, salary crisis looms in states. FAAC records 125 billion naira revenue drop. Figure first in 4 years. Okay, that's on page 8. We have Nigeria-Russia trade over $2 billion at risk as crisis deepens. That's on page 23. We have on page 14, PDP not ready for general election, says Ajulo. And on page 13, bandits kill 8, adopt bride in Niger. Bride Shah. Fuel scarcity in Nupeng to sanction marketers selling above 165 naira per litre. That's on page 10. And on page 28, INEC fixes August 18 for submission of governorship forms. 2023, Atiku challenges youth to compete with elders. That's on page 21. That's all for Al Jazeera Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much. Because of our time, I'll be taking the last paper, which is the Nigerian Tribune. Special report. How 14.37 billion naira NEPSA diverted funds toward development at Calabar, Kano Free Trade Zones. That's on page 22. And on page 23, APC Convention. I am the candidate to beat Senator Adamu. And the writer to that says, why governors, stakeholders want me. You can read up. Omwagege, Malami, Ayade, Sonwolu, Umayi, and others led APC National Convention Subcommittee. That's on page 3. And on page 6, strike. Cost of imported vehicles to increase as trapped cargoes accumulate charges. That's on page 6. And the major story there says federal government confirms 4,000 Nigerians stranded in Ukraine demands their safe passage. What are they even looking for in Ukraine?
You didn't know that they'll be guys. Ukraine was a really amazing place to go. Yes,
really.
Yes, and they have one of the best educational systems.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yes,
exactly. I know of Russia. I know of Australia.
Ukraine has one of the best, especially for medical students.
Ukraine, then I think Cyprus.
Ukraine, Cyprus, Finland.
Yeah.
Thanks for that info. I'll take notes. And the writer to that says, Putin puts nuclear forces on high alert. World isolating Russia. European countries, US, to disconnect Russia banks from international financial system. BP to exit 20% its shareholding from Russian oil firm. All of this you can read on page 3. We have appeal court ruling upset NJC decisions on no gain over 1,000 ex charges. And the writer to that says, judiciary leaders scramble to save council embarrassing reversal. That's on page 8. Of course, there are a few stories there you might want to read up. Because of our time, I won't be able to take them. Or don't forget, for more news updates, you can log on to Lagoon.News. You can also like and follow us on all our social media platforms. On Facebook is at Lagoon Radio Nigeria. On Instagram and Twitter is at Lagoonradio.Ng. You can also download the Lagoon Radio app on Google Play Store and App Store, depending on the device that you use. Thank you very much for being a part of the newspaper review, which comes up every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. here on Lagoon Radio, your number one online gospel radio station, powered by the Diocese of Lagos Anglican Communion. My name is Taiwo Adeola Shabiuligbe, and I have with me in the studio.
Hello, Mrs. Smith. Okay, good morning.
And
Whenever you be.
thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely day. Come right after now is The Moment of Truth by the Venerable Erin Adelegon. You don't want to miss out on this. Good morning and bye for now.
This is Lagoon Radio.